Hello, my name is Liene and welcome back to my channel and welcome to April wrap-up. April was a really good reading month. I managed to read 8 books, some of them smaller than others, but I feel like it went really well and I'm ready, not really actually, to talk about them. I think I'm never ready for wrap-ups because I don't write down my thoughts. When I read the books, I think maybe I should pick up a paper and write things down that I'm thinking, some thoughts, either while reading or right after. But I forget that. So when it comes to wrap-ups, I'm like, what was this one about? What did I really think about it? So yeah, we'll see how this wrap-up goes, but I'm happy to say that I enjoyed, on some level, all books. I didn't hate any. There are some disappointing moments, but there are some happy moments. When I enjoyed a book, I was really scared to not enjoy. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about them in the order I finished them, like I always do. And yeah, let's make this quick because I can ramble on, but it's not necessary. So we'll see how this thing goes, but let's get to the 8 books I read in April. The first book I finished is A Happy Moment, and the book is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stillwater, and it is a happy moment because it is one of my booktube friends, Olivia's, from Olivia's Catastrophe, favorite book, one of her favorite books, and I'm so glad I liked it, that I didn't hate it. It's not becoming a new favorite or anything, but I really liked it. I enjoyed the friendships in this book and the interesting storyline. There are 4 boys and a girl, and they kinda have to come together to figure out what's going on. Some interesting things are happening, magical things kind of. I think my favorite of the characters was Noah. He has a really interesting storyline. Not that happy maybe, but there are a lot of things that are not happy. So there are these 4 boys, kind of unlikely friends, all really different, with different past backgrounds and like feelings right now and situations at home and things like that. So it is really interesting to see them together and just how their friendships are. And then there is Blue, who is from a family of not really a witches, but they have magic in their family. They see futures and stuff. I feel like, oh my god, I'm already struggling, but I enjoyed the book. But Blue's power is a bit different. She makes the power of her family members, of the woman in her family, stronger. Like by being next to them, they can see more clearly and things like that. Like, I hope you can trust me. I'm not sure 100%, but let's hope I'm remembering correctly and I'm not like mistaking things and messing up things. But boys are looking for this, they're following this legend of a Welsh king and they are trying to find him. But yeah, I don't know how to explain the story. But the boys and Blue are coming together and working towards figuring out things, and they figure out things together. And yeah, as I said, my favorite character is Noah. Maybe because of how weird or unexpected the journey of him throughout the book is. Like at the beginning, I didn't expect the things that happened at the end. So yeah, it was really, really, really interesting. I really liked it. So yeah, I enjoyed the book. I have the second one. I don't know when I'm gonna pick it up. I probably shouldn't wait too long, but I don't have the third and the fourth book on my shelf. So yeah, I don't know. I'm bad with continuing on with the series, so we'll see when I pick up. But I'm so glad, I'm so happy that I enjoyed the book, and it was really interesting. I'm definitely interested in seeing where the series goes and how it ends. So, the next book I finished was for the Buzzword Reading Challenge, and I think the buzzword was emotions or something like that. And I read the book The Fear Hunter by Elise Sachs. I read an ebook, and it is a mystery book. There is this kind of family of witches. There are only women living in this town, small town, and one of them, one of the older ones, has mysteriously died, and the younger one takes over her soap shop, like a soap restaurant, not really a restaurant, but like a soap place where every day there is 3 different soaps people can choose from, and she has to take it over and work there. And one day someone is killed, and our main character always is near the bad things that are happening, or she's finding clues. So she decides that she's gonna be a detective and try to figure out what is going on. And she gets in a lot of messes, and she befriends a detective. Kind of friends. There is kind of a romance. I feel like in the future there is more romance because it is a series. But what I didn't like about this book, that the witches, the family, they are really old. The main character repeats multiple times that she's older than she seems. Like she maybe looks like a 30-something-year-old woman, but actually is, I don't know, a couple of 100 years old or something like that. And she's a virgin, and I was so scared. I really dislike, like, when there's romancy stuff, there's virgins that are so naive, and then there comes this big man that is their big love, and all the things happen beautifully, and I don't know, that's not what I like. And I don't know, I just didn't like it. How many times she repeated that she has no experience with the relationships, intimate or otherwise, and that she mentioned that she's older. I don't remember the phrasing, but that just she's older than she seems. And those 2 things mentioned multiple times just bothered me. But the overall story, the finding out the mystery and the reasons behind the killings in the town, that was interesting. I did enjoy that, but yeah, I'm not gonna continue with the series. The next one is The Last Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is a translation. As you can see, I love the cover. I can't explain it, but just the colors, the design of it, I love it. This is a 2-timeline story. We have a past timeline and nowadays timeline, and they are, I feel like they were 200 years apart, about 200 years apart. So we have the nowadays timeline with a woman who is on her kind of 10-year anniversary, wedding anniversary trip, but she's on her own because her husband cheated on her and she found it out right before the trip, and she went on the trip alone. And there in London, she accidentally comes across these people who search for things in the River of Thames. She finds a little bottle, like a potion bottle or something like that, and there is an engraving of a bear on it, and that starts her journey to figuring out the story. And then we have the past timeline where we have an apothecary, and there is this woman. She is making poisons for women who want to kill their the mans in their lives, fathers, brothers, husbands, whatever. They have done something and then they want to get rid of them, and she prepares the poisons. In that timeline, it starts with her having a bad feeling with her client, and of course her feeling kind of comes true because it spirals into the things, but I'm not going to reveal all the things, of course. So yeah, those 2 timelines come together, and in the present timeline, our main character is coming across clues and searching for them and looking into the past to figure out what actually happened. And I really like these two timeline stories when there is a past mystery. I think I have said this multiple times. If you watch my videos regularly, you have heard me talking about it. So past timeline, present timeline, and they are connected in some way. So yeah, the story was really interesting. I really enjoyed it, but there is one aspect of the story that I didn't like at all, that could have been erased and it wouldn't do anything bad to the story. The husband of our main character in the present timeline. I would like him to exist only at the beginning of the book. His involvement later on, for me, felt like unnecessary, but he's there and I didn't like him, so yeah. But the book was really interesting. I really liked how the main character figured out things about herself, remembered her passions when she was younger, and yeah, that was really interesting. I really liked it. Next one is Lessons in Chemistry by Buddy Garmos, and this is kind of historical fiction set in 1960s and 50s. We have the main character, Elizabeth. She's a chemist, and being a woman in sciences at that time of the history is really hard. She's not taken seriously a lot of times. She's being mistreated. It is hard to read. It was the hardest aspect of the story, reading about how the women are treated. In this one, there are kind of two stories. There is the one while she works in this chemical company as a chemist, and then there is this part where she works in a television show and she cooks in a cooking show. I liked the main character. I liked how she didn't take the nose from people around her. She didn't really completely lose her confidence. Yeah, it was affected in some moments, but overall, she stayed herself throughout the story. She learned new things. She accepted some things maybe, but she was so sure and confident in herself and in her knowledge, in the things she knows, that she didn't take seriously the men that didn't take her seriously. Like, she knew that she is smart and she knows things. There's a romance story in this book, but yeah, it's more, I feel like, about women, about how they were treated and how hard it was for them back then, that most men, I feel like most men didn't want to listen to women because they didn't think they can be smart enough. Not that they wouldn't believe it, I think they didn't want to believe it, that women can be smart and be smarter than men. That's the hardest part for them, I think, that the woman can be smarter than them. But yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it, but it was hard to read how the women are treated. Oh, it angers me. The treatment angers me so much. It is hard to read like these kinds of stories. In general, it's hard for me to read stories where women are really mistreated by men and not taken seriously. Oh, yeah. The next read was a short one. It was 1904 by Inga Jolude. There is this undertitle. What is that? Melancholy Waltz. And it is a short story about a Latvian composer who wrote a classical piece for the orchestra, right? And it is called Melancholy Waltz. From what I understand, this is a story of him in the year of 1904, when he got to the point when he wrote the piece. No, I didn't like the tone of the story. I like the musical piece that the composer wrote. It is one of my favorite ones, but the story itself, I don't know, just something didn't feel right for me. Of course, I don't know how Emil Zdarzic, the composer, the main character, how he was as a person but the way he was in here, I didn't like him. So yeah, that's it. It's a short story, so there's nothing much to tell. I finished The Diary by Zane Daudziņa. This is a diary. The author, Zane Daudziņa, is an actress, a speech teacher? Professor? She teaches people how to speak, how to properly, how to use their voice and things like that, like for actors, for radio personalities. She's a really interesting person, and this is her diary of the year 2020. If you remember year 2020, it was the year the COVID started, so it is from her point of view, how she saw the world and some events. It doesn't talk a lot about the things that happening there. Sometimes just mention that the numbers of the infected are growing or things like that. It is more about her personal journey, how she spends her days. It's really interesting to see how she went through that year, because in my memory, how I experienced it, it is completely different. Because I didn't get like the time off. She's an actress, she works in a university, and when things are closed, nothing's happening, like theaters were closed, no plays were performed, so that part of her job didn't exist anymore. So she had a bit more of a free time at some points, but for me it was like I had to work. I just worked from home. I didn't have any time off. It was stressful. So my experience of that year was completely different from hers. And it is interesting to see how different it was, because I didn't go anywhere. I spent it mostly at home. I went outside for walks, but I almost forgot that all the places weren't closed like all the time. There were times where plays could happen. There just was limited amount of people that can be in the room and things like that. And reading this one, I remembered, yeah, that was a thing, but I just didn't do anything. I just stayed at home because I had to regularly go to my grandfather and I didn't want to get exposed to anything. So yeah, it was really interesting, but at the same time a bit weird because you're reading someone's diary. The kind of disappointment of the month is next, and it is The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. I was hoping to love this book because I have loved and enjoyed the previous two books I've read by this author, The Lake House and The Secret Keeper. So this was a bit disappointing. Firstly, because it felt too long, and yeah, I didn't feel the story. I don't know, just something about it I didn't connect to it the way I connected with the other two books. The story starts with a little girl who shows up in a port in Australia. Like the ship comes in, and when all the people go their ways, there is this little girl, I feel like 4-year-old girl left on the docks, and no one can figure out who she is. So one of the workers in the port, he takes her home and just takes her in. She grows up with that family, and years later her father reveals her that he found her, that she's not their biological daughter. So it starts her journey to figuring out who she really is. And then we have three timelines. We have nowadays, when the little girl was an old woman, she died, and her granddaughter has inherited property in England. She now finds out a lot of things about her grandmother she didn't know. Then we have the timeline in the 70s when her grandmother is traveling to the UK to find out more things about herself, like try to find out who she is, who were her parents, and why she was left. And then we have a past timeline in early 1900s, where we follow. I feel like we know that they are some way related to the nowadays and the 70s timelines. So yeah. This one, as I said before, I like the multiple timeline stories where they are some way connected, but this was a disappointment. I don't know. I felt like it was too long. At one point, I felt like the oldest timeline from the 1900s, early 1900s, could have been left out. But at the end, I felt like the 70s timeline could have been kind of taken out and some way incorporated more in the present timeline because it felt too long. I feel like it should have been a shorter book, not this, like, what, 530 pages book. So yeah, it was interesting. At the end, the story was picking up and things were revealed and it came together. I didn't like the ending, but it was more interesting, of course, when things are being revealed and you start understanding more stuff. But yeah, it just wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. But still, it wasn't a bad book. But I wish it was shorter. The last book I read on the last day of the month, and it was The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. And this is a story about a bunny who is a toy, and it is from his perspective. He can't talk, he can't walk, but he sees and feels the world and hears what people are talking about. He's owned by this little girl, and they are going on a journey, and he is lost. He's thrown over the ship, and it's about his journey after that. He's quite self-involved. No, what is the word? He's not like a good character at the beginning. He learns things on his journey, and it is quite a sad journey at some point. But I really like the story. It is definitely my favorite read of the month. It was really cute and heartwarming. And I kind of knew what the ending would be. I predicted it, but it is a children's book. It is a story for children, and it was really cute, definitely. So this is it. These were the 8 books I read in April. Please let me know one book you read in April, the favorite one of the ones you read. So these were mine. This was my favorite one, as I already said, but yeah, this is it. These were all the books I read in April. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one. Bye!